It's a Friday with Fagan here on Cards Hub 365, powered by Gray Bar on Sports Hub STL. All content provided by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Joe Roderick, Ryan Fagan, with you here. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Cardinals haven't done a whole lot since you were last here the last 2 weeks.
No, I feel like it's been kind of a broken record over and over. Tight game on the road, bullpen.
Yeah.
Blows it.
Yeah,
pretty consistent.
Kind of the theme of what we've been talking about over the last week or two here is, these weren't issues that we kind of foresaw out of this bullpen back in February, back in March, when we kind of started talking about this team and the makeup of this team.
To an extent, yeah. I mean, I think the loss of Kittredge, because of, and it's not even just him, but like what you want is you want 3 or 4 guys, maybe really 5 guys who you can count on, right? Who you feel like you can count on and you can throw out there on a regular basis, and then you can fill in from the rest. Well, they haven't really had that. It's been because Helsley's been used pretty much safe situation, so he's kind of out of that equation in the close games losing equation.
Yeah.
So you've had, and Matz has been in the rotation. You know what I mean? And then Fernandez, obviously we've all seen his struggles. Roycroft struggled and was sent down. It just, you've had, Kyle Leahy and the guy that they signed late in the spring, which really brings up the question is when you sign Maton like that late, and the fact that they didn't do anything else like that the entire offseason, I think that's where the frustration kind of comes up, because, you can talk about wanting to see what young guys do and wanting to see how Jordan Walker does, how Nolan Gorman, and all of these different things. But that has nothing to do with signing relievers that have some sort of experience to create depth in a bullpen if you're still going to try to win games to an extent, which is what they did by keeping Helsley and keeping Fetty. They it was these mixed signals they sent the entire offseason is really kind of biting them here in the first month or so as the bullpen continues to struggle.
Which, yeah, and we were told it was going to be this reset. It was going to be this runway for the young guys to come up, and it's when you look at what the issues are, like the young guys that you have coming up, like they haven't been the issue. We're not sitting here wondering, is Nolan Gorman a major league ball player? Well, maybe we are, but we're not, overly questioning Jordan Walker being sent to Memphis. We're not getting too hard yet. I mean, Nolan Gorman had a few good days. Victor Scott's playing well. Mason Wynn is just getting back off the IL. Like a lot of the things that you thought were going to be the question marks aren't there. It is. I mean, the bullpen is just, it's just handcuffing you from winning games, being exciting. And I mean, it's a one thing to just kind of throw it all out there and say, okay, we'll see how this goes. But the bullpen is just far and away just a non-factor when you're talking about the future of a franchise.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's not like there's young kids in the bullpen that you want to give them the same kind of runway that you're going to give to Walker and Gorman and all these guys. There's no reason they couldn't have addressed that in ways that they didn't. I mean, you look at Maton. I mean, he's been great. He's been what they hoped for. They signed him for $2 million, right? It's not like whether they traded Nolan Arenado or not was going to impact whether they could spend $2 million. And if it is, that's a whole different other situation, a whole different discussion. But, they could have gone out there. I mean, even like you look like a guy like David Robertson is out there. Yeah. He was really good for the Rangers last year. There are options that have been available the entire offseason and even till now. Now, look, I think a lot of teams are feeling the crunch in the bullpen right now. And so the idea, I'm not saying that the Cardinals could just go out and give David Robertson $2 million like they gave Phil Maton. I'm not saying that because he's going to want to compete for playoff, and he's going to cost more than that, which is why he's probably still out there. But there have been options, and the fact that they did none of that and were just banking on guys repeating success, even when you saw the second half of the season, guys like Fernandez struggled. And I think that's where some of the frustration is coming in for Cardinals fans, because like you said, you're not turning on these young guys because that was the plan.
Yeah.
It's okay if you struggle, but it's not okay when the bullpen's struggling and giving away leads and you're kind of losing the ability to gain momentum as a team because you're still trying to go out there and win.
Bernie Miklasz a couple times
Yeah.
this week has sounded off on
Yeah.
the way the bullpen has been constructed for this season. On top of that, has also, kind of talked on the way Ollie uses Ryan Helsley.
Yeah.
How do you? I mean, when you see the way that Ryan Helsley is being used, do you think there's a more effective way to go about having him throw maybe more often or in different situations?
I get that, right? Because especially with the way the season started, you wouldn't have imagined he'd get 2 save opportunities in what is it, 12 game stretch now, something like that. You expect him to get more opportunities with the way that they've had that. And so for me, I get that. I see a longer, maybe a longer run for that. Now, if we get into the end of May and he's pitched 4 times, then that's a different thing, because then you're accepting that the team really is as bad as they played the last couple of weeks, which I don't think that's the case. They're probably not as good as they were in that opening series against the Twins, and they're not as bad.
And the bullpen's blown 7 games for them now. They have 7 blown leads this year. So that alone, I cut that in half. I mean, give me 3 of those.
Yeah, not saying you get all 7 of them.
Give me 3 of those instead of the 7. And you're looking at 13 and 12 right now on the season, and it's a completely different conversation that we're having.
The one that surprised me the most, I'll admit, is JoJo Romero. And Bernie, when you talk about what Bernie wrote about, I mean, the numbers that he highlighted and Romero's struggles against right-handers, it's not even struggles. He's just getting demolished by right-handers. I mean, this is a guy a couple years ago that, he was, last year for most of the year, he was a guy you felt good going out there. You didn't think 3-batter minimum when JoJo Romero took the mound for a long time. When his fastball was up there. I mean, his fastball was, he added MPHs, the 97, 98 miles an hour range. And he was one of those guys you thought, okay, he can be a big part of this bullpen for a couple of years, but against right-handers, he's just been getting demolished. And I think that's the one that, to me, has been the biggest disappointment and surprise of the guys that they brought back.
He's been here now for 3-4 years. JoJo traded for, he's part of the Edmundo Sosa trade.
Right.
I mean, the fact that you've gotten everything you've gotten out of him for trading Edmundo Sosa. I mean, it's
although Sosa's been really good for
but that's
the Phillies,
the thing. It's like Edmundo Sosa wasn't going to do really anything for the Cardinals anymore. He is he the 9th guy, 10th guy for the Phillies right now? I mean, I've seen him playing a little outfield. He fills in on the infield.
Sosa has been the ideal kind of player that you want if you're a contending team, because he can play pretty much anywhere. He's got a chance to do something at the plate. He's got a little bit of speed. He has his moments that you just kind of scratch your head. The ball that fell in the outfield the other day would just sit, and then everybody remembers the spin and throw from shortstop with the Cardinals and hit the
umpire right in the
from
side of the
4
head.
feet away from the bag. I mean, he's got those moments, but I mean, overall, I think the Phillies are very happy with it. That's one of those trades that, I mean, honestly, the trade has worked out very well for both teams.
100%.
And I guarantee Phillies fans would love to have the 2024 version of JoJo Romero in their bullpen. But yeah, they've been.
But you see, I mean, my point is, though, you see the shelf life with these relievers.
Yeah.
Like, they're not a 7th inning, 8th inning guy like a JoJo Romero is not going to be that effective for that many years. I mean, heck, look at a closer, a 9th. I mean, how long are their shelf lives? And that's the most important 3 outs of the game, the final 3 outs of the game that you're asking them to go in there and get. And this is just a end of the road guy, and 7th, 8th inning setup guy. We saw it with Genesis Cabrera a few years ago. It just runs out at a certain point. You're asking, it's such a specialty position that these guys aren't going to be able to hold on to forever. I mean, think of long-term setup guys in the history of baseball. Like, there's
David Robertson.
But teams have brought him on as closer too for so many years. It's just not one of those things that's like, all right, hey, we got 3 years out of him. We squeezed 3 years out of him. Okay, we probably need to move on and see who the next hot thing is. Right now, it happens to be Kyle Leahy is the next hot thing at the moment. But when you look into the bullpen and it's Kyle Leahy, Phil Maton, Ryan Helsley, those you don't have a lefty in there.
Right.
And
I think
there lies the issue.
That's, when you talk about this wasn't necessarily something people thought it was going to be the biggest issue, in spring training. I think that's part of the danger, though, is when you look at, like, anytime you look at a bullpen and say it was good last year, it'll be good this year. No, that's not going to be like, and that's why the teams, the contenders, are always looking at in the offseason and at the trade deadline. They're always looking. It doesn't matter how many good relievers you have. The good teams are looking to add, and if for no other reason than to have depth. Because if a guy has a week where his velocity's down, you don't have to put him in there, right? And I think that's kind of what the Cardinals have run into, is they've had to use guys in situations where the recent performances, they have no business being in those situations. But because they did not build any depth, and we've seen there's not, Marmol's comments recently about we have what we have, right? There's not depth at Memphis either.
No,
not that they trust. And I think that's the frustrating thing, is because this, of all the issues the Cardinals are going to have in 2025, this did not have to be one of them.
No.
And here it is, probably the single biggest issue they've had.
And now Memphis suffering injury after injury to some of their guys.
Yeah.
So there's not even really a whole lot of names you can sit there and say you want to call up at the moment either. Gordon Graceffo pitching for the Memphis Redbirds tonight. It is his turn in the rotation as you kind of look through and say, a move has to be made. Like you look at it, you cannot go into this series against the Brewers with the same bullpen that you just wrapped up in Atlanta with. Like there has to be one move being made. I believe Chris Roycroft's 15 days. I think it was April 10th. So today's the 25th. So I think 15 days. I think Chris Roycroft is eligible to come. He wasn't that effective when he was here outside of game one of the season. So it's one of those where you just go back to him. Graceffo would be a name that I would kind of look at and say, is that a guy you want to call up and bring in the bullpen? And I don't know what other options there are. I mean,
he's almost a guy that you can look at and say, you could look at him like Walker and Gorman and say, okay, let's give him a chance. Let's see.
But if you're giving him a chance, like there's no spot for him in the rotation.
I'm not even saying the rotation. Just give him the experience in the big league level. I mean, because I know they don't want to do that with McGreevy. They talked about that, right? But you can't do that with everybody,
right?
And there is a track record of guys going in there and being a bullpen arm to get the experience, and then moving into rotation. And I know it doesn't always happen. Yeah. Sometimes guys become elite closers like Jonathan Papelbon and never see a start, or Aroldis Chapman. Sometimes, I mean, everybody here knows Adam Wainwright was a pretty good reliever when he got the chance. Now, that was a different situation because they needed a good arm and a playoff push, right? And I get that. But the bullpen, what it's become, needs something. And if that something is a good arm like Graceffo, trying to become a major league reliever and learn how to get guys out one inning at a time, 2 innings at a time. I mean, maybe that's what needs to happen.
I brought up this name to Claibs on Wednesday. I'll bring it up to you as well. I don't know if you saw the clip, the reel that we put out there because of it. Tristan McKenzie.
I did see that.
Yeah.
I know he struggled. But man, when Tristan McKenzie is right, he is an impact guy. He's a guy who can miss bats. I've been a big fan of Tristan McKenzie for quite a while. And look, there's a reason he's available.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about that. There's a reason he's available. There's a reason that Cleveland doesn't have room for him. But man, you talk about taking a flyer on an upside arm if he can show he's healthy.
And you have a guy again in the organization right now running your farm system, assistant GM Rob Cerfolio, who comes from the Cleveland organization. So there is that there is somebody in the organization that knows him, that
has seen the success,
familiar with him,
right,
and saw what he was at that top level in 22 when he was really, really good. And with the injuries down in Memphis right now, it's just a name to me that just makes a lot of sense, because this isn't, you're not signing him and having him pitch this weekend in St. Louis.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying. I mean, but yeah, you're seeing if he's right. Yeah. And if he is, okay, he's filling voids and gaps that you have in Memphis right now until you think he is ready.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think at this point, you know, they can't go through the season with the bullpen like it is.
No.
Right. So you have to look at what are the options. And as you said, there are injuries in Memphis right now, so it's hard to find anyone there. Are you reaching down into Double-A? You're hoping guys from Single-A like really impress and move up a couple levels and maybe can throw innings in September? That seems like a stretch. So why are you not taking flyers on guys like Tristan McKenzie and other DFAs? That, I mean, we see through baseball all of the time. Guys who are DFA'd for one reason or another it doesn't work out with where they are. They're signed somewhere else and they have success. Yeah. And it's not like the Cardinals need someone to go out there and save 35 games for the rest of the year. They need somebody to go out there and not blow up in the 7th inning, right? The bar is not high at this point. And so if you're taking a flyer on guys like McKenzie, look, I don't think his upside is what it was. He's had injuries. He's probably never going to be that guy. But could he be a guy who comes in and gives a couple innings? Maybe next year works his way back towards a rotation option. I mean, maybe, but what's the harm in trying that and other ones? They should be scouring the waiver wires this month, next month, as all season really, to try to find options, because there do not seem to be many options that they're willing to go with right now in the organization.
Yeah, I'm trying to just scroll through here and trying to find something popping off with a roster move today as the Cardinals and Brewers get set for a 7:15 start time down at Busch. Just a quick 3-game series before they head back out on the road next week. So just 3 games this weekend if you're looking for something to do to head on down to Busch. Also looking for something to do, Cardinal or DraftKings pick 6. We were going over it earlier today, and I was upset to see, as I'm looking over all the stats, that you cannot get Travis d'Arnaud action anywhere on DraftKings. I don't know if I'm the only one looking for it, but
I think you might be.
He has had very good numbers in his career against Pablo Lopez. That's why I'm looking at it. But Aaron Judge going up against Jose Berrios tonight. 5 home runs off of Berrios in his career in 34 at-bats against him. Andrew Benintendi with 2 home runs and 13 total hits off of Luis Severino in his career. White Sox Athletics this weekend. So it's there are some good plays out there to be made if you head on over to the DraftKings Pick 6 app. You select just 2 or more players and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat. I made my DraftKings Pick 6 for today, and you can bet I put Benintendi and Judge in there for that on my DraftKings Pick 6.
Aaron Judge, can we just talk about what he's done this year?
Right.
Last year, Jay Jaffe, who is a fantastic Hall of Fame writer and has been over at Fangraphs for quite a while now, he put out a stat with the last 365 days.
It's crazy. No, it's
360 with a 489 on base percentage.
It's crazy.
For a full year.
You don't get great numbers if you throw it out there for Aaron Judge, but it's a nice little staple if you're when you're putting together the DraftKings Pick 6 for your day. Cash in your baseball knowledge. New players get $50 in Pick 6 credits instantly on just a $5 entry. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app. Use code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports for new customers to play $5. Get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
The Aaron Judge numbers, I did see, the 62 home runs for that. Yeah. And you see what's funny now is you also are getting the Juan Soto talking about what it was like being in the lineup with Aaron Judge. You're seeing Paul Goldschmidt have the numbers that he's having this year with that. Who's the it's Carlos, the manager of the Mets, Mendoza. He's like, yeah, we all knew that. Like, like people, New York media wanting to find something to get angry about with Soto talking about that, and Carlos Mendoza's like, yeah, yes, we're all aware of how pitchers try to pitch around Aaron Judge. Like we get it. We're like, what is there to get mad about?
And if you're, Mendoza and you're looking, hey, we're in first place, right?
Right.
Are you trying to? I mean, Soto's not on a 70 home run pace, but the team is playing very well. He's been a big part of what they've done. Well, a sort of big part of what they've done, but he certainly hasn't hurt. I mean, 18-7, they're pretty good right now.
They are. They definitely are. Brewers coming into town this weekend. They are 500 on the season, and it's another case. It's funny how less than a decade ago, the Cardinal devil magic talk, and how they would you'd get rid of players and the next guy up would perform. And the Brewers have seemed to do that here recently with they get rid of who's the Corbin Burns.
Yeah.
But you get rid of Corbin Burns, you lose Brandon Woodruff. Next thing you know, the rotation still looks just fine and pitching's just fine, and they're still going to the playoffs. And this past season, they just decided not to re-sign Willy Adames. Bryce Terang, now first in baseball in batting average on the year. Yelich, you thought maybe it was over with last year when he had to be shut down for the season. He was having an all-star season.
Yeah.
Gets shut down with the back injury. Nope, he came back again. He's still kind of discovered that fountain of youth up there in Milwaukee too.
It's a solid organization. It is the organization that the Cardinals used to be in a lot of ways. Not exactly in every way, but in a lot of ways, in that they can have the next guy up, right? Somebody's always being prepared at the minor league level to step in when they have an opportunity. And they've been good. And when you watch that first series that they had in New York and the Yankees hit, it felt like 700 home runs in those 3 games. You thought, oh, is this the end of it? No. It's not, Pat Murphy does a great job as the manager over there.
That's the key. You lose Craig Counsell to your rivals 90 minutes south of you, and Pat Murphy comes in and is manager of the year.
They've done a really good job. And even when you look at their line, I mean, it's not like everyone's clicking, right? They still have struggles. Ortiz and Oliver Dunn at second or at short and third haven't done much. Garrett Mitchell's struggling offensively out there. But they get it done. They find ways. They hit when they have runners in scoring position. They move guys over, and they've had enough arms. I mean, even the guy who's starting tonight, Chad Patrick, 2 years ago, he wasn't much. His minor league numbers were not good. And then he goes in last year in AAA and throws up a great season, 2.9 ERA. And he's been really good once they moved him into the rotation. I feel like Patrick's kind of that guy that they just keep. And it's the same way when even though everybody loved to call it Cardinals devil magic, it wasn't magic, right? It was preparation meets opportunity. Yeah. And it's the same way here. Patrick isn't this magical find. He's someone that had some talent, and the system developed him to be ready when he had an opportunity. And he's done that. And I think tonight's matchup is kind of fascinating to be with Patrick going for them, Liberatore going for the Cardinals, he's been really good. Obviously everybody knows that. So I think you've got two of the youngish starters in that division who are not the big names yet, but could have an impact on the division race for the next several years.
Yeah. Chad Patrick tonight, Quinn Priester tomorrow, 1-0 with a 1.93 ERA. And then old friend Jose Quintana,
who's
3-0.
really good.
Yeah. 0.96.
A sub-1 ERA.
Yeah. That was one where when the Cardinals decided not to re-sign him, and you saw what he signed with the Mets for that next year, I think we're kind of you can look back at that as kind of the question of where is this organization going? Like,
absolutely.
Because the Mets didn't sign him for much. Yeah. And in the end, he ended up not even pitching for the Mets that year. And, the brain tumor and the health issues that he went through.
Right.
But you kind of looked at that to where
absolutely.
Yeah, it was why, like, he just started for you in a playoff game.
Like, he was your pick
in
the most important game of the year.
Yeah.
Over guys who might have had more seniority or whatever. He was the guy, and he pitched really well. Yeah, that was kind of a moment when you're like, that you didn't want to pay that to get him.
Right.
Yeah.
And
No,
it was
absolutely.
like, yeah, you kind of looked at what the rotation was then too. Yeah, that was one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that one? I mean, do we look back at that as kind of was there a move before that? Was there a move around? I'm trying to think of what, because that was the year. I mean, that was the Albert Yachty's last year.
Yeah.
So that was a 100-win season. That was a playoff team, and
things went south very quickly.
that was kind of the reset seemed to have started with him back then. So that's your pitching matchups for the weekend with the Cardinals and Brewers. Also a chance to see Jackson Churio this weekend. Was not in the lineup yesterday for the Brewers and Giants, but another young rising star in baseball.
Yeah, he's struggled a little bit this year, but he got off to a really slow start last year, and he just oozes talent, right? And I think he's one of the guys that I think Cardinals fans will probably always look at him and look at Jordan Walker and say they have similar prospect profiles, and one of them has done more than the other ones.
I had him and had Churio in my Roddy bombs on Wednesday. He did not hit homer. Usually, if I have them in that usually means they will not homer. Is
there a way to pick everyone you don't?
So that's funny you should ask, because that was brought up recently in the office by others asking if they could make money by betting against what I bet for. And we looked, and you could bet more or less hits, but you could not bet more or less home runs. Yeah, you cannot bet on a guy to not homer in a game. Maybe you can elsewhere, but you could not do so on the DraftKings Pick 6 app. You could not bet on a guy to not homer. We looked. We definitely tried
side action
to see, if that was a possibility for that. The comments rolling in, the people not happy with the bullpen, as you can imagine, on the season. Hey, Sports Hub STL, all of our post-game shows, and we'll have one tonight. Matt Rocchio and Stephen Carey on the Cardinal post-game show, brought to you in part by Hot Shots, who invites you to come out to their St. Charles location Sunday, June 1st, to celebrate their 35th anniversary. The fun starts at noon with a parking lot party featuring the Budweiser Clydesdales. Prizes will be given away all day. There's a dart tournament at noon, a bags tournament at 2, plus a chance to win Hot Shots tacos for a year. Congratulations to Hot Shots on 35 years. Hot Shots, St. Louis's home for all the games, all the time, since 1990. Find yours at hotshotsnet.com. Joe Roderick, Ryan Fagan with you as we start to wrap up today. We were talking about the Cardinals and the Brewers pitching matchup. There is a really good pitching matchup in baseball tonight. So if you watch, again, Cardinals, Brewers starts at 7:15. Stick with it. Watch it. And then tonight, have not looked if this is the Apple TV game, but Pirates and Dodgers tonight.
Yeah, that's going to be Paul Skeens versus Yamamoto.
Mm-hmm.
That, and Yamamoto, I know he was injured last year at times. He struggled a little bit at times, but he showed in his last couple starts and in the postseason how good he is, and he's been that guy this year. Way more than a strikeout in an inning, sub-1 ERA. Have him going up against Skeens, and Skeens, obviously the Cardinals got to him more than anyone else has. But yeah, I think he in Dodger Stadium, he's going to be amped up to show the West Coast what he can do. That'll be a good one. And they're not the
Apple TV game.
No, they're showing the Rangers.
Giants. So you can watch it. If you have the MLB app, you can check it out on that. So I will be doing that tonight.
Yes,
for
we have movie night with kiddo. So once she goes to sleep, then
say 9:10. You can
sometimes we let her stay up a little late to watch movies.
Yeah,
on Friday nights.
Have her watch it. I mean, Skeens and Yamamoto is cinema. I mean,
it is, but not at 9:00 for a kiddo.
I mean, I'm sure. Yeah, you got to talk her, and I got to try to talk my 11-year-old into that. Pitching matchups just all around. Chris Sale, Zach Gallen tonight.
Yeah.
In Braves and D-backs this evening. So you have those two going at each other. Eovaldi versus Verlander tonight. Also, that's the Apple game that we mentioned. So there are some really good pitchers throwing all around baseball this evening. So if the Cardinals bullpen happens to blow another save and you're upset, there's
It's right about the time it'll be.
Yeah,
kicking
there's
on.
good pitching to watch around baseball tonight, so you can check those out too.
Yeah.
Anything in particular you're looking for watching this weekend with all the other matchups going on?
No, that the Skeens Yamamoto was the big game. You know, I mean, I think that's going to be one of the premier, I mean, of the month of the year. Anytime Skeens goes up against somebody else, and anytime Yamamoto goes up against someone else, you know, and Skeens has an opportunity, right? I mean, the Dodgers they look like the best team in the history of baseball in the first couple of weeks, but they've come back to earth a little bit. And I know it's mostly been against left-handed pitchers that they've struggled, but I mean, Skeens has a chance to do something special.
Just kind of show off, show off and be on a big stage. All eyes will be on LA for that tonight. Cards Hub 365 powered by Gray Bar. If you're still suffering from supply chain issues and they're disrupting your operations, have no fear. Gray Bar has you covered, and you can rely on their nationwide logistics network to get what you need, where they need, when they need to get there, all within budget. Visit graybar.com to start an order today. That's graybar.com, and fix those supply chain issues with Graybar, your distributor for electrical and datacom needs. That is going to do it for us here on Cards Hub 365, powered by Graybar. Back at it tonight, post-game show with Rock and Stephen Carey, and then, of course, all weekend long, Cards Hub 365s and post-game shows all weekend long for Cardinals and Brewers. So make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube page and see when we go live all weekend long. And that also includes Sunday afternoon for the Blues. 3 o'clock noon game for the Blues. So 3 o'clock is when the post-game show should be taking place. For Ryan Fagan, I'm Joe Roderick. This has been Cards Hub 365 here on Sports Hub STL, sponsored by DraftKings. The crown is yours.